What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Radical Roots Podcast, where we dig deep to reach higher and, of course, always progress through action. I am your co-host, Payron Baxter.
I'm your co-host Ram Sandoval. How y'all doing?
And Rom, I am feeling like poop warmed over today. I feel, if you guys can't tell by my voice, it is not the best of days for Payron. I have like this crazy fever. Came on last night because it was your daughter's birthday, and I was going to try to go there,
Mhm.
but my daughter had a cough, and I think she coughed in my face one too many times. Now, of course, I got, as we know, men with a cold is like, the worst thing ever. But anyway, I got this crazy fever right now, and so, folks, bear with me today, and but we got some good topics, man. How have you been?
Busy. It's been a busy few days. My oldest, she graduated preschool on Friday.
Whoop, whoop. See, this
And
would be this would be a good place for like a drop, like brr, 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 brr.
and then she had a great time. Got some nice balloons and a little couple of gifts for her. Her
Big girl.
grandparents are in town, three of the four. And then Saturday, my youngest turned 3,
Whoop,
and she
whoop.
had a birthday at the park. Had some friends, some family, um, and yeah, it was a great time. Open presents. She's been playing with one of her Minnie Mouse cars things for most of the time. She didn't even
Now,
want to open the rest of her gifts. She
is it
was
is it her playing with it or is it you playing with it?
yeah,
Yeah,
making cupcakes out the back. But
slanging them
she
things.
took my speaker. I had my speaker. I was cleaning the garage yesterday. She took my speaker, put it in the back, and rode off with it. And it's
Oh
bumping,
yeah,
and
got
it's
some
got some bass.
12s.
Got some bass. It sounded like a little plastic, vibrate. But
That's right.
yeah,
Little revelry.
yeah, already fixing it up and kidding it out. And so then today is my wife and I. It's our anniversary. So 6 years today.
Six
Um,
years, good God. How she put up with you for 6 years, man? That's a long time.
and then it's our 1 year anniversary in North Carolina as well. So
Oh, is it?
it
Wow.
is, it
Wow,
is,
it's a
it
lot
is a
going
lot
on.
this weekend. Yeah, I had all like family
Dang.
in
Well,
town. So
congratulations for all the wonderful news that is washing up on the shores of the Sandoval family. That
yeah,
sounds so amazing. That's great, man. Congratulations on the anniversary
thank
and
you.
congrats on the 1 year.
Yeah, part of the reason. So we're recording a little early today. We're not live.
Whoa, are we
So
live?
if
Can you guys tell?
if something happened in the next six
It is
hours,
it is daytime. I know, right? Like, why do they talk about the world exploding? Yeah.
so who knows what can happen? But yeah, we got a few things to run through tonight. We're gonna start local. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
let's get into it.
there's a few things happening with in Monroe. We like to talk
Hmm.
about Monroe, Mayor Robert Burns.
Our
There
favorite
was
mayor,
Yeah, and there was a
friend of the pod.
Monroe officer who was shot yesterday, and the suspect was killed. We're
Mm,
going to talk a little bit about that and some of the things I saw online on
yep.
Facebook in the community. Elon Musk in the Oval Office, looking like to me, he was tripping out. We're seeing some friction between DOGE, White House, and various factions. It's coming out physically. It's coming out
Yikes.
verbally in all kinds of ways. So we'll dive in that. And you know what? I wanted to talk about Kilmar Garcia,
Right.
and he's not the only one, but he is the one that that there was a lot of traction getting his name out there, a lot of publicity. But I feel like if we can't sustain talking about at least one person, they're winning the battle. They're just basically playing a game of stamina. So I want to make sure
Hmm.
we're continuing to shed some light on that. So locally, I'm gonna start with a little, I guess I wouldn't call it lighthearted, but first thing is Mayor Robert Burns. He has kicked off his campaign of with a very lavish launch for that campaign. So he's again representing Monroe, but he's got well, I'll let you see. So I'm gonna go ahead and show some pictures from that. Let me see. Give me 1 minute. There you go. So this is his campaign event. This one is saying, "Welcome to the Monroe Strong fundraising event, hosted by Mayor
Mm.
Robert Burns. Together, We build the future. Faith, family, safety,
Ah,
and growth.
faith,
Thank
family, football, baby.
Thank you for standing with us as we fight to make Monroe the greatest it has ever been. Let's finish the job.
Oh, there it is. The
So you
greatest.
had a lot of people out from Monroe, the community. It was a very diverse event. It was definitely working class. They had, just everything you would imagine, right? So, oh, this is a very, very, very nice multi-million dollar. I don't know what
Plantation
this
style
is.
house.
Yes, yeah, it looks like it's
Right.
straight out of Charleston.
Right.
Uh,
It's like something. It's like the house that Forrest Gump's mama tried to get him into school in.
you got the people coming in. Oh,
Yep.
there we go.
Look at
Like a
that.
little symphony, little
Look at
orchestra.
that. Now that seems pretty woke.
Very
It doesn't
nice.
seem like they don't have like Kid Rock playing. They have actual culture and things like that.
They
The
did. They
cellos and
they did. They
violins.
did appear to get some younger, some youth from the community. I don't know. At least we can hope for that. But a very very nice house.
Oh, oh.
And you see
Look at him.
there. You see, kind of looking goofy as usual.
Of course, of course. Not a drop of wokeness is probably at this thing.
Well, yeah. Welcome to DI. Maybe is there any
Mm.
DIs there? Is there
I don't
any
see any. I don't see
tokens?
any. I see Nair DEI yet.
Where's
I'm, s-
Mark Robinson? His boy Mark Robinson.
that was his boy. He said
He
he's gonna
left him
ride
out.
with him
Oh,
like four flat tires. He's
I'm
down with him
just
like four
I'm
flat
just sorry.
tires.
Oh,
Look at that. And look at
little
this
Mark
gentleman here in the
Harris.
front. Look at this gentleman here in the front staring at these four young women. He's like, look at that. Breeding age.
I
Yes.
think that's one of the ball girls, if not both of them. I don't know.
Probably.
I
They
don't
don't care. They
like
don't care.
who
They
I
don't give a
know from
damn.
they speak at the town council meetings at talking about drag queens and twerking in parking lots and churches and stuff and all kinds of craziness every time. That's all
Hmm.
they talk about every single time. Um, but
Oh, look at that. There we go.
yes.
Oh, schmancy fancy.
Oh,
Look at this wallpaper. That is, if that doesn't say decadence, I don't know what does.
it says deaf to me, but hey, that's some
Ah,
people's style.
look at him, Mr. Headneck himself, Mr. Human Head as a thumb. Look at him. What was that? You got three flags. Oh,
There
that's
he
his
is
brother.
again. Oh no, that's his twin. That's Mayor Pro Tim Dotson.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
actually the smarter one of the two. It's more of like
That's right.
his handler to kind of keep him in line, kind of inform him.
Yeah, they all look
His
alike.
talking
You
points.
know.
They actually they actually dress alike too. That's the crazy part about it.
Hmm.
And here they are. I'm still not a
Packed out. Look at this. God, dog. They probably raised $1 trillion.
Oh, I think I see a DEI back there.
You see DEI?
There's a little
Let's give it a
man with some melanin. There's a little
some zoom
melanin
in. Oh, is that Cash Patel?
now.
That's Crash Patel.
Crash Patel.
Yeah, Crash Patel crashing out.
All right, and then we got
Look at this. Oh, look at this smorgasbord. Let's zoom in on this food
I mean
because you know,
it definitely looks better than Trump's little million
does it?
dollar dinner last week.
Does it look better?
I,
Let's zoom in. Let's give it a real look. They got is that an ice bucket? They eating ice? What is
what
that?
is that? I don't know actually. I think
Right.
mm,
They got possum fingers. What is
I know they're
devil?
scrambled eggs.
Yeah, is it? Hey, look, this is a potluck. This is an office pot. This is what look, y'all. This is why black folks don't eat at office potlucks because white folks don't even know how to cook. And this is a clear example of that right here.
You got Mark Harris. I guess I'm assuming this Beth Harris is his wife. You got the Christmas tree with the American flags.
I mean, you can't get more American than
It
that.
wouldn't be Christmas if it wasn't American, right?
Absolutely a
When
horrid, ugly
Jesus
flags.
loved America. What else we got here? Oh, oof. The
Mm.
Oompa Loompa. Sorry, she's a very orange hue. I don't know where it comes from,
Well,
but
that's their thing. They're into that.
Michelle
That's their
Ball,
jam.
known in town. She's donning her Trump, flag.
That's Michelle
Um,
Morrow.
is it? Okay.
Hmm.
Oh God. So Michelle Moore, actually, true story. Not that great of a story, but before I moved here, my mom said, "Do you know who Michelle Morrow?" Or she like, "You know Michelle Morrow's in North Carolina." I'm like, "I don't know who that is." I looked it up. I'm like, "Oh, this crazy, the one that was saying lynch Joe Biden, lynch Barack Obama, lynch Governor Roy Cooper." Yeah, this is her. And she literally said that they should be hung and all kinds of craziness and conspiracy theories, and she was running for uh, superintendent of public instruction, so like public schools, right? Versus Mo Green. And before I moved here, I was like, I'm gonna have to go campaign for Mo Green because of this woman. Before when Biden was still in the race, so
Right.
I was already planning to get involved when I got here because of her. I didn't know what she
Mm-hmm.
looked like, but or I
That's
can't
her.
remember what she looks like.
That's her.
And so when I was knocking doors, I tell you, I knocked about 1,000 doors. Almost every single door, I was like, regardless of where you stand, if you haven't decided or you on the other side, I need to let you know about this one race, Michelle Morrow. She should not be near kids. She has no background whatsoever. Talk. Here's Mo Green. Here's what Mo Green's about. Here's his expertise. So I was talking about Mo Green as much as I could. Luckily, he won by the people of North Carolina had some sense not to elect this woman.
A comfortable margin.
Yeah, and then you got some other people here. I don't know who that person is, and looking pretty proud of himself. He's getting money this time, so the GOP is going to be funding him, and so I hope the Democrats are ready to get him out of here. Like
Oh, I mean, that's
as
as
I've
if
said.
if we know one thing about the Democrats, they know how to organize effectively. So yeah,
Well, Monroe is the must-win for Democrats in North Carolina, and really because, especially Union County, because this is the only city that has a chance to be Democratic, and he's a MAGA mayor, so it's pretty bad as it can get. But yeah, some other things. Again, this American Christmas tree. I don't know what an American Christmas tree in June, in the middle, end of May, but
it makes sense though. I mean, white that is a reduced picture of white Christian nationalism right there. A Christmas tree with flags on it, as if you don't know as if you've never seen the American flag, and we're the only country that loves our flag this much. That and like maybe Britain, maybe and some of those other colonial states, right? Like it's grotesque, and the myth of Betsy Ross is probably rolling over in her grave.
and then you got the outdoor spread.
Oh, Lunchables.
That fruit plate. I could eat that fruit plate. That fruit plate I could
I
eat.
I I I fuck with strawberry.
Yeah, my kids would eat that. Yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
fuck with strawberry.
I don't know about the
I ain't eat them deviled eggs.
that lazy charcuterie board.
It's hanging off. It's hanging off. Why'd you take a picture of this? It's hanging off. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
on this giant piece of brown. The cheese, the cheese looks all right, but yeah, this is
Yeah,
you know,
this is who they are. So anyway, so he's running again, and yeah, it's we have to get him out. And again, like look at this. They're showing you who they are, and and I tell folks all the time, Republicans don't want anything from the government. And for you to be neutral or for you to be like, I'm not into the Democrats, Republicans, or any side or whatever, I'm apolitical, I'm out of it, that means that you're okay with the ruling class continuing on. You're okay with the status quo continuing on. And I know a lot of us do not like the status quo. So you have to then, and honestly, all of us are steeped in this cognitive dissonance that we believe that somehow um, we can separate ourselves from these things, and we cannot. And so yeah, I want you to know they don't want anything. All they want to do is dominate. Again, they want a patriarchal, white supremacist, capitalistic, exploitative system. And that's what they're fighting for. That's what Burns is fighting for. That's what Harris is fighting for. That's what Michelle Murrow's fighting for. Um, and until we can get comfortable calling that shit out, all you're gonna do is just make compromises with it.
yeah, and I think one thing is that he has several faces, right? So whether he's on different social media, Facebook, and he has this persona in person. He's still doing the photo ops. These with whatever person he can find that will make him look good. And that's really the only time you'll see him with black folks, Hispanics in the community is when it's a photo op,
Yeah, the football
or
team.
like an event. Like he'll be there at the event, right? But but when he's on X or Twitter, it's a different story, and the things that he's retweeting, tells two different stories. So, we'll be exposing that, throughout this season, and make sure that this guy doesn't win another election in a row.
Yep.
So, anywho, uh,
Anyway, screw Robert Burns.
yep. So the next story today,
86 RB. So I just want to put that out there. 86
well,
RB.
he gonna cry. You gonna get him
Oh,
all riled up. He gonna end up
like
on his
what a straight up like sassy pants like snowflake. Like what a snowflake. If someone said 86 PB, I'm like, oh, they been get rid of me. Not like murder me, but like that's how you're always the big
vic,
strong man, but you're also so scared, you're so
yeah,
afraid for your life.
it's
The
victimization.
victim mentality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Every time. But there was some actual. There was a victim
Yeah. Yeah.
yesterday in Monroe. A Monroe police officer,
Hmm.
a woman, she was shot multiple times, and she is in. I believe she's in stable condition at this point.
That's
But
good.
she was shot by a teen who was a fleeing, right? And so he shot at her, and the cop shot back, and he ultimately passed away. I don't know too much about like why he was running, why he decided to shoot, but what I, and luckily she's recovering, right? But what I thought was pretty interesting was I ran into on Facebook from in the Monroe Facebook page.
Hmm.
I forgot to pull up the screenshot here, but what I saw on I'm going to pull it up now. But what I saw was they were people who were basically saying that he should be, and Christianity would tell you that you should be give grace, right? You should also pray for those who perish, and so I'm not saying I disagree with that, but coming from the same people that are generally like. Mm, he deserved it. He shot at the cops.
Why was he
Blue
running
Lives
away?
Matter, all
Where's
that
his
type. This is
father?
the same crowd, and I was very surprised to see, this man's name is Joshua Hayden Sykes. And somebody said, Joshua Sykes also lost his life. I know this child, and he is a human. Hurt, sad. If you're still investigating it, you should also pray for his family. No one has the right to shoot and kill anyone. This child watched his mom die of cancer. She fought for 6 years. By no means do I believe it's okay for Joshua to do as he did, but he also has a family. Well set up and thinking of everyone. And my kids grow up. He was like a brother. It means a lot. Mental health, I don't necessarily disagree that there should be some grace and thought for his family. But that this is not, we know this is when it's funny when I read this, I was like, oh, uh, he's white. I didn't really
He's
think much
white.
of it until I
That's
saw
all that's
this.
all I heard
And
after you reading all that.
I was like, so, when these other instances happen, and if it's a black man, because it's always a man, 99%, I always say that that's the only common denominator between gun violence is men, and most violence actually. But um yeah, like it would have been usual suspects. It would have been let him rot 6 feet under, those type of comments. And because I talk about Chicago, I talk about inner city violence a lot because uh, what those kids go through is trauma, right? They grow up in an environment. A lot of these kids, and they grow up in an environment where their friends, their family, do get shot. They lose that, and these kids go expected to go to school and be normal. And all of these socioeconomic factors that actually go into mental health and trauma, but no one ever talks about that for um, you know when they're talking about inner city violence and things like that. No one's talking about those things, and so I found it very interesting that they were people out there defending this kid. As soon as it's happened, but um, it is unfortunate that somebody feels like they can need to pick up a gun and shoot at cops and run from the cops. It's unfortunate that the cop was shot, but uh, it's two different stories, right? And what it is for me, it's like the hypocrisy of it, and a lot of people won't acknowledge that.
Right. I think to your point, like the over humanizing of white violence, and the the infantilization of white violence is part and parcel of the American project, right? Like it's January 6th was is a tourist walk. It was Ashley Babbitt was just a patriot. It's Kyle Rittenhouse was a young man just trying to defend some property. It's George Zimmerman being afraid of a 16-year-old Trayvon Martin. It is Derek Chauvin trying to hold down this giant gorilla of a man, um, George Floyd, as he's calling out for his mother that he doesn't want to die. Um, we love in harkening back to our episode with Dr. Kim Hardy when I said at the end, like we have to stop infantilizing white supremacy, and that's what it is. And we allow them to do that because who in the right mind would hear those white people say that and be like, no, he shot a cop, right? But when the police officers kill black and brown people who are usually unarmed and their back is to them, then all of a sudden the performance of that he was this, this aggressor and he was trying to kill the police officer. I think he grabbed the gun. I think he threw crack in the officer's mouth, and all these things that lead to our death or agitated delirium is another thing they say that black people have is that there's so many drugs inside of his body that it just killed him. He died from agitated delirium. That's been on many a police report. So we have to be able to deal with the how whiteness is always again one thing about whiteness it has all the same uh, characteristics of narcissism. So it's always the victim and it's always the victor of every situation, which means that it's always what? It's always centered. Because if you're always talking about it as equally as it's always under persecution, but it's always being the one that's to topple and to have appeal to its authority, that's what narcissists do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have to change that narrative to say, well, you know what? Yeah, I don't want anybody getting shot. I don't want anybody getting killed. But then at the end of the day, like I don't know all the ins and outs of this story, but the fact that y'all are going above and beyond saying that, his mother died. A lot of people's mother die. A lot of people's, are sick.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you pick up a gun and go kill somebody. That's not a normal response to your mother being dead. This is why I'm over the whole Kanye was, oh, his mama died. His mama died like 20 years ago at this point. Like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't excuse the Heil Hitler
Right.
song, right? So there's a certain level that we have to pop a hole in this narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading a little bit more, getting caught up. Like I said, it's been a busy weekend, but getting caught up on the circumstances of this case, and apparently, they believed he was fleeing a murder scene. What they found out,
Oh,
and where they
look
believed
just like your
that
brother.
he was, this person was found deceased, believed to be murdered by him. So it wasn't like it was just a random isolated incident. It'll be more to come out, and and hey,
I'm sure.
maybe he is black. I'm speculating. I could, like, I'm just saying. I didn't think he, until that I read those
White people aren't
posts.
taking to Facebook. Yeah,
It's
they're not taking to Facebook writing paragraphs about black people who shoot cops. I'm
and
sorry.
yeah,
That's never happened and will never happen in American history.
and people say, "Oh, why are you guys talking about race? Like, it's da da da." Look, I'm just telling you. I'm just holding up the mirror of hypocrisy. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we ask people to that, black men, black women aren't, shot violently by police, or treated violently by police, and when we see a white person treated fairly, we're not asking for that white person to be beat up and shot. We're just asking for them to be treated, like black people, to be treated the same, with the same humanity, right? And to be given, they have to prove the guilt, right? And try these police, and public opinion, try to um, be the judge and the jury, um,
And the executioner.
and the executioner in many cases, right? And I'm not saying, like, defend criminals and all of this stuff, but this is how our justice system is promised to us that was supposed to work. And yeah, it's the hypocrisy that gets me. And a lot of times they don't even know if they're criminal. They just look at the person's skin, they look at their whatever, and make a determination. And that's the problem. And that's the thing, is like, people don't want to admit that they hold prejudices, right? So when they have, when police forces were started doing racial bias training. Thought that was great, right? Because there's these biases that people have subconsciously, and if you don't actually address that and just continue to be in denial that this is a thing, and just say, "Oh, I don't see color," like
Right.
you're lying to yourself. Like
Hmm.
you just can't. And we're a country that's built on racism. We're a country like that's a fact. We're a country that was
Right.
not only built on it, but for the majority of its time, it's the majority of the United States.
Never stopped. It ain't never stopped.
Right. So, and it just looked different, right? And they say, well, your parents weren't slaves. Like, okay, but
Okay,
my
but
parents were
my
my
parents,
they weren't a
they
full
weren't
person.
born. They
They
weren't born
couldn't
full
vote.
full people. So
They
okay.
couldn't vote. They
So
couldn't
now
go to
what?
certain. They had different water fountains. They had treated differently. Da da da. And
Right.
we know that
Exactly.
there's been various. So if people don't want to talk about race, then they're cowards. To be honest, like
Well, America is filled with cowards. I mean, no, it's home of the weak and was it home of the brave, home of the weak, and the place where cowardice runs free, right? Because if they really thought this country was as good as it was, they would fight for it. They would fight for it the way that they ostensibly would. But no, we don't have that. We have a bunch of people who are still honestly in such deep denial of what this country is. This is why I keep going back to they don't know what to fight for. There's no cohesive logic. There is no shared, collectivism. There's no idea of, oh, this person's plight is also my plight. And if I'm allowing the state to do this to these people, that means I'm giving the state license to hurt people, right?
yeah,
No matter of the classification, but it's if I'm saying the state is okay to harm black people disproportionately as it relates to unarmed, shooting victims, and then we get incarcerated higher. But that stat I always like to pair it with, but we're also the most exonerated.
mhm.
So not only are we the most disproportionately incarcerated higher, but we're also for murder cases, black people have the highest amount of exonerations. I think it's like 48% or something like that.
Which is
So like
insane.
if you're not pairing that together and you're just putting together, there's this one stat. This is black people kill this many people, and you don't add in there, but half of those people are going to get off for being wrongfully accused.
Yeah,
Then you're allowing the narrative to continue about the inherent criminality of blackness and the inherent and you're looking away from those who do commit the most crimes in this country per capita and on raw numbers, which is white people. The FBI data that has white people committing the most armed robberies, rapes, murders. It is white people. Now, does that mean all white people are bad? No. But what I'm saying is, that if we're going to talk about who's building a narrative, y'all stole this land through genocide. You stole us from another country, right? And then you built systems that allow that hierarchy to stay in place. Who's violent?
hmm
Who gave people syphilis just to test that on them? Who killed all the buffalo so that indigenous people couldn't eat? Who put people in camps? Who was doing the Mary J. Sims trying to do the experimenting on slave women so they can the father of gynecology? But we're the brutal savages.
hmm
It's so irritating, like you guys are putting
using
toxic,
human teeth, using human
yeah,
skin to
hair to put inside of chairs, human skin for shoes and wallets and stuff. Like, but yet we're supposed to be this. It doesn't make sense because I always say, if we were so violent, why would you have us watching your kids in the big house? Why would you have us cooking the food? Why would you have us maintaining the entire property? We talked about not away plantation and Thomas Jefferson, and yet at the same
breastfeeding
time,
children.
uh, breastfeeding children. At the same time, Thomas Jefferson said that the most that the Negro could do is just basically mimic ideas from the white man. But yet and still, we ran his entire plantation from the planting schedules to, make sure the crops were harvested on time while he was off in Paris. So this it needs the myth of our inferiority for this whole thing to continue. This is why they're against CRT. This is why they're against DEI. Because if those myths don't exist, then who are you?
Mm.
I always go back to like we talk about George Washington and all of these quote and also as America, we need to get rid of like the phenomenon of the singular great man. That myth has to go away. The George Washington or the Thomas Jefferson or insert whoever Trump, because it's not that. It's not that because as I always say, then why are these Negroes here? If y'all were so great and all this stuff could have been averted. All this stuff could have been averted if you would have built this country by yourself.
Mm.
If you just would have done it, but just build this shit by yourself.
Yeah. And
If you wouldn't have to go,
well, like half of me would have been here because they still wiped out native, like the
they sure
native
did.
indigenous. So I
They sure did.
I can't tell you exactly where I would have been, but or where my ancestors would have been, but the people they want to tell to get out, the African
You should have did it
Americans,
yourself.
they wouldn't be here if they wouldn't be here.
Should
Like,
y'all would be dead because y'all didn't know how to
but
bathe yourself. You didn't know how to take care of yourself. You didn't know how to build. I said they didn't know how to do the thing. They didn't know how to plant the stuff.
and even and you think about something as that they have kids reciting every day the Pledge of Allegiance, and they said for liberty and justice for all, right? And then you try to
But
talk
then,
about
but they get mad at you for trying to
yeah,
believe
you
it.
talk about liberty and justice for all, literally, and then they want to make sure that to remind everyone there's an asterisk next to that. There's conditions on that, right?
That's right.
Liberty and justice for all, either but us white men, we got to get a little bit. We got more than you, more justice and liberty, or or if you're not white at all, then you don't get it, which is actually how it was. When the Pledge of
Right.
Allegiance was created, if a black person said that, like who are we talking about?
Yeah.
The
I
the,
mean,
the
it
hypocrisy
was
in
for
that.
the Anglo-Saxon man. This is why the Irish weren't in it. This is why the Italians weren't in it, right? So this whole idea of like, and we're the only country that every day we have children stand up and say a pledge to a country that they have no idea what that means.
Mm,
And we want to talk about indoctrination into CRT and
mm,
DEI and wokeness, but yet we forget that we are indoctrinated every single day.
mm.
We're indoctrinated through capitalism because we see about 5,000 ads a day on average. The average person sees 5,000 advertisements a day. On average, we're seeing some idea of nationalism, and we are enjoying that with our religious ideologies day after day. So until we can get a handle on what this project even is, I keep saying it, they're like, we're not going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
So this is why the white liberals, they just want to, if we just get Trump out, things will go back, even though they want to maintain a system that will inevitably cause the next Trump. This system has to go back. We almost need to have a second Bill of Rights, like FDR was trying to put out there at the time. Right? Those were tangible, material things that would have changed the conditions for all Americans. And of course, FDR, the New Deal kept black people out of it. But that was what had black people for the first time saying, you know what, this Democratic Party is all right because he changed and created a middle class.
Yeah.
So now we're at a point where people are like, okay, Trump ain't not for me shit. But he at least hates the same people I hate. But they're not even asking themselves, why do I hate those people? So it's like a snake eating its own tail because they're telling you to hate the trans, they're telling you to hate the black, they're telling you to hate the immigrant, they're telling you to hate the uppity woman. But in reality, that's just to give them more power so they can give that shit to the rich, to the Elon Musks of the world. So I don't know about to
And
get to him too.
there was, a little bit of this conversation reminded me of, I'm going to play a real quick clip. Kevin O'Leary and Tiffany Cross. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
First off, Kevin O'Leary is a billionaire. He's a Canadian
Mr.
billionaire.
Wonderful.
And, kind of talking, well, I'm going to play it first. And then I think you've probably seen it too.
Yeah, I posted it. Mhm.
But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
they
you know what?
edited her word
but
salad to make her sound
okay,
better.
but you know,
and she
so
really
what?
does sound
Hold on,
Christ.
let me remind you.
Don't
Right.
remind me. I was there.
So since you're bringing up
Word
our previous
salad,
many
don't edit word
conversations about
salad.
this, when is Joe Biden going to sue Fox News over editing Donald Trump's comments in an interview to make it sound better than it was?
I think
Then
it's on her page.
everybody should just sue.
He can sue.
And find the Tiffany Cross. That's not the right one, but
all
I think
right.
from the same episode.
No, but she checked his ass. I mean, and I listened to the Native Land Pod, and Tiffany talks about she doesn't really even enjoy going on these news broadcasts because it's set up to be adversarial. It's set up to be, oh, you're representing the liberal side, he's representing the regressive side, and y'all gonna have it out. But in reality, it's like we have to stop giving these people an inch. Like I'm so sick of it. Like I'm so sick of these white men who are hell bent to be like, oh well, if she just would have did this, that, it's like, dude, I always go back to, there is not a group of men in this country that is more progressive than black men per voting records.
Mm.
So y'all can say whatever, black men are conservative, and then why, since we've gotten the right to vote 60 years ago, why have black men been on the right side of every single voting issue? I mean, when it comes down to, if you got this and that, we're always voting for the better choice. Always. So I'm saying, like, we will not be talked down to. We will not be finger wagged at. We will not be told that we're the problem. We brought. I mean, these white liberals are still. I mean, a white woman told me that a couple of days ago that you saw the black men are going towards Trump in large margins. It's like, so hold on, you're trying to tell me that makes black men bad if a small finite percentage of black men goes towards Trump, but you don't think that the majority of white men that vote for Trump are bad? Then it's well, they're not all racist, they're not all bigots, it's the economy, because it's easier to say that it's not that racism, sexism, and bigotry reigns supreme, and you could just say something amorphous like the economy. And these are people that they don't realize that, this is why we cannot separate the class struggle from the racial struggle. And a lot of these white liberals, they just want to do this whole BS, let's talk class. But I try to remind people, the people who make up the quote unquote our shared class, which is true, we are in a shared class, because you're either the exploited or the exploiter in a capitalistic system. But the problem is, in their base, they have people like Kyle Rittenhouse. They have people like Derek Chauvin. They have people like, Shiloh Hendricks. They have people like that in their base. So yes, we are of the same class, but they will actively do harm to me.
Yeah.
And as a Democratic Party, you want to run that direction to say, oh, they were lied to. But you know what, Rom? I was lied to. You were lied to. We've all been lied to. That's not an excuse to be like, well, that's, we've got to go appeal to them because they've been lied to. I've been lied to. They said that my history starts in chains. And if you start from slavery, if you start your history from slavery, everything looks like progress, as John Henry Clark once said. Everything looks like progress at that point. So no, we've all been lied to, but again, we have the linked fate phenomenon as black people in this country, because we know what it's like to live under racism. They don't know what it's like because they've never I don't know how about you when you were going to school. Did you have a lot of black teachers? You're in Chicago, but I'm assuming.
In Chicago, yes. Exactly.
I didn't. I did in Pittsburgh.
I had a mixture, but I think I actually had a majority of black teachers, and
that's good.
In
most black people do not have that experience. That's the thing. Most of us. I think I had my first black teacher in 6th grade, Miss Alexander. I'll never forget her because she was bad. She was bad. 6th grade, I was like, she was bad. But see, I remember that's my first one. So that's what we're fighting against. And so seeing this clip about to show here, it proves this posture.
So let's see here.
Sure, Michael.
So, yeah,
I think it's very
absolutely.
simple.
I'm sure you do in your position
Don't break
in
the
life.
law.
But let me just tell you something, that there are a
it's
lot of
okay to
people in
break
this.
the law.
If I can
No.
finish my point and you can use these.
I don't know how you're gonna get there.
Yeah, well, if you listen, you might find out.
I'm
It is
dying to
not
hear
as
it.
simple. It is not as simple as if you don't want to go to jail, don't break the law. There are millions of black people in this country who have been ensnared by a very punishing criminal justice system where they have been wrongfully convicted or unfairly sentenced in this
All
country.
of them? Every one of them?
No, obviously not every one of them, but the same way that you can support a president who is convicted of crimes himself, there have certainly been people who have been sentenced to crimes that they did not commit or they were unfairly sentenced. That is why we have the First Step Act. But the reason we have the First Step Act is because there needs to be a second step. The First Step Act mainly focuses on federal policy, but there are a lot of people, over 1.1 million black men remain in jail today. So this president is not, he's not vested in some
So
let me
you're
define
okay.
equity.
You're-
Don't tell me what I'm okay with, because I think I hear what I'm saying. But why don't
Tiffany,
you
let me
listen
ask
and
you a
learn and try to
question.
understand and have some empathy
Let
for
me-
the criminal justice system that have ensnared a lot of people.
Let me
unfairly.
ask you a question about the Larry Hoover of it all.
Yes.
I mean, do you think Trump is right to take the step that he did today? Or, I mean, I think some of this, I mean, you mentioned NBA YoungBoy, he's also in the past part in Kodak Black. They're trying to appeal to black men.
Of course.
Okay, so is this about that, or is it about Larry Hoover?
Their intentions are impure. But I will be honest with you, I'm fine with pardons. I kind of agree with you, Michael. Like, if he's 75 years old, yes, because it's impossible. When you think about the 230 plus people who were shipped offshore to a torture camp, when you think about this president who breaks the law routinely, convicted of 34 felonies right here in New York, when you think about the number of people, we've just decided in this country that these laws and these rules are pixie dust. The Constitution, who cares? Who cares about the emoluments clause? Give me this jet. Who cares about the 14th Amendment? So at this point, we have to ask, what is a law? So why do laws apply to some people and not the other? So if it's time for Larry Hoover to say, yeah, fine, then pardon Larry Hoover, but also let's look at all the other cases instead of caging people like animals who have been in jail for decades, in prisons for decades, for a dime bag of marijuana. When I see white boys walking down my street in a gentrified neighborhood smoking it freely and openly, you have to wonder, yes, there is something wrong with our criminal justice system. Respectfully, it is not as simple as, well, if you don't want to go to jail, don't break the law. That is spoken from a place of privilege. And if you look at fact and history and data and statistics in this country, you will see that there are so many people. There are so many people who are in prison.
We do have to leave it there.
What does that have to do with
leave it
pardons?
there.
Is what he says.
Very interesting discussion with this.
What does that have to do with pardons? What does that have to do? Were you listening? Were you listening to listening to what she said?
Straw man. It's a straw man argument. But that's what they need.
What do you mean?
You know?
Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What does this have to do with pardons? He's literally just broken down for you of why people who are potentially deserving of pardons and why pardons should be used, right? And then what you're saying is the intent. What she's saying is the intentions are impure of why these people are getting pardoned. They're getting pardoned because they're celebrities. They're getting pardoned because they have access to Trump indirectly, right? Directly or indirectly. Right. And their money, they have money. They potentially are paying this man off, putting money in his Trump account.
It's transactional.
They're paying the lobbyists that have these relationships. It's all very transactional, right? And so, but to hear all that and then to just say, to follow up with, what does this have to do with pardons? Is like,
right,
motherfucker, were you listening? Like, are you dense? Yeah.
Well, she's black. Well, she's a black woman, so he definitely wasn't listening. He's like, oh, I'm not listening to that shit.
So
we are in the upside down world, man. But again, this country has always been an upside down world where it cannot look itself. You said something earlier. We're holding the mirror up. Just like don't shoot Paul Revere off the horse, don't shoot the person holding the mirror up too. And Tiffany Cross was just holding the mirror up. So at the end, to your point, where he was like, "What's that gonna do with pardons? Were you not listening?" You're holding a mirror up, and I am literally deathly allergic to people holding mirrors up to me in a society, because don't forget, Canada is just as white supremacist as America. We don't think, oh, they're nice to white people, but they also built that country based off genocide too. They still have these, promenades with the King of England. I think he just went over there. He sat in the big boy chair over there. So these are colonial projects. And I will say that until my face is blue. That is, until you can grasp that, we're gonna keep spinning our wheels in the mud. But I'm glad Tiffany Cross. We need to have her on the show. That'd be great if we get Tiffany Cross on the show, because she liked the show. I think that one post about the show, right, where she liked one of our posts.
Yeah, like on her page or Native Land or something. But yeah,
so
great to have her.
That'd be great. Because we gotta start speaking real. And if people who are afraid to deal in reality, that doesn't mean reality isn't going to come for you.
Yeah.
And I think as Black people, we haven't had that luxury to live in the fantasy. Now, some of us, we talk about how we grew up and we're kind of like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. I think that's normal.
Yeah.
But we also knew that it was different for us as young boys than like our white friends.
Yeah. Well, we have to so that's why I say if you can't discuss race, you're a coward, right? Because we growing up, we have to, right? Just it's the world we live in, or I should say the country we live in.
Right.
And for white people to discuss race is an option. They can continue to disregard the other people who inhabit the country, and it wouldn't affect them, right? So for you to actually address it, whether you're, I don't care if you're liberal, leftist, MAGA,
Doesn't
whatever,
matter.
like it exists. So if you can't discuss race because it makes you feel uncomfortable because you have sensitivities, like you're a coward, whether or not how you feel about some overt racism, or maybe even approach the fact that you might have some conscious fears or whatever. So one thing before we switch gears, I'm just going to share this real quick threads from Jolly Good Ginger, and
Oh yeah.
he said this last night, and I said, "Yep, I am not being philosophical when I say this. This is a hill I will die on. White supremacy is 100% the reason we are in the predicament we are in, and it is our unwillingness to accept this, and that has led us to be unable to unfuck ourselves. We keep looking for solutions to every problem but that one, Bernie. And so we will remain doomed until we do, or until it's too late. I reckon we better pick which it will be." So he's saying it. I like Jolly Good Ginger. I knew I liked him for a reason, but
Yep.
I think that this is
That's a bar.
This is what we can't fight something. If we're gonna go fight something and we're not fighting the root of the issue, as radical roots, that's what we talk about, the root of the issue. If we're trying to fight everything on the symptoms, then we're not fighting it at all. It's like spraying weed be gone on the weeds, but not pulling up the root.
Oh, well, yeah, I was gonna make another plant analogy. I was gonna say it's like they're trying to fight the leaves. They're trying to just cut the leaves off. But like, I mean, again,
Yeah, that's what Democrats are doing, because they're trying to make it manicure the root.
right, trimming
I
it.
mean but just manicure it. And some people are they're trying to chop it down, but it's gonna keep. That's what I feel like for this past 40 years that I've been in this world is like.
Yeah,
We keep chopping it down, and but the roots are still there, and now we're at a place where it's fully bloomed again. Here we go. And so if people don't want to fight,
right.
get it
Evergreen.
We're going to be stuck here for a while. So switch gears.
Just like, I mean, yeah, I was going to just add, to the point. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, y'all. I'm going to try to get this sickness here, but like to the point of our name, Angela Davis said, and I heard it years ago, but she said, I mean radical in the terms of what it means definitionally, grasping at the roots of something. So like that's why it's in our name, is like radical roots. I mean, it's almost redundant, because we mean that in the black radical legacy of that, right? Black radical education perspective, that like we want to grab the roots out, and it's not just for us. You know what I mean, Rom? Like that. Like if we change this stuff, only black people are going to get jobs. Only black people are going to get a house. Only black people are going to get funds. It's not. Everybody will be taken care of.
Yeah, this will show you the definition of radical in the adjectives and nouns, especially of change or action relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough. Advocating or based on thorough or complete political or societal change, representing or supporting an extreme or progressive section of political party. Noun, a person who advocates through or complete political or social reform, a member of a political party or of a party pursuing such aims. In chemistry, a group of atoms behaving as a unit in a number of compounds. I mean, radicals, there's the word radical itself. I mean, look, the relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, right? And I think it has a lot of meaning. I think the name of this podcast, and ultimately, more than beyond this podcast, has a lot of meaning.
That's right.
And hopefully we plant seeds, and we grow something beautiful, right?
Yeah, or we're not planting weeds just to pull them.
You're not planting weeds. We don't know.
That's what a lot of people do. Like we said it at my old job years ago when I first moved to Charlotte. Like we're planting weeds just to pull them, and it's like, yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to just I'm gonna elect Trump because he's gonna shake things. That's planting a weed just to pull it later.
Yeah. So speaking of planting things, Mr. Felon Musk, Elon Musk, he's been messing with maybe some of the psychedelics, the mushrooms,
maybe
the fungus.
He said he did
the fungus. I don't
cordyceps.
know. ketamine. I don't know, cocktails. But he was in the Oval Office. I don't know, was it yesterday? I guess I'll try to keep up, but it's been a busy few days. But here, I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
Oh, look at him.
Well,
Again,
it's a
the
very
master
sad
race.
case. It's a case we win. We can't lose that case because we have the right to make grants. We're not going to make any grants like that. But I don't think Harvard's been acting very nicely. I think Columbia wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted very well. And there are other institutions, too, that are acting, but Harvard's trying to be a big shot. And all that happens is every 3 days we find another 100. Well, it's a very sad case.
That motherfucker is higher than giraffe booty. Okay, bro is gone.
Yeah,
But again, you will not hear that he is this drug addled. I mean, people will see that and still say George Floyd was more on drugs than this white man who told the reporter that he carries around a medicinal pack or medication pack of 20 plus pills that are extremely potent pills like ketamine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's rolling out of his mind. Like, look at that. The guy was rolling like crazy.
Yeah. So,
but why doesn't that stick to him?
And he's in the Oval Office. I mean, like, I don't even, like, no one recognize it. I don't know. I'm trying to
It's
get
grotesque,
a sound clip, but you remember the clip where he could be a crackhead? It was a leprechaun. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, Alabama leprechaun. Absolutely, could be a crackhead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Everybody, when see a leprechaun, let me hear say yeah.
That's what I was thinking of when I saw this.
The city leads to large crowds in Mobile's Crichton community. Many of you bringing binoculars, camcorders, even camera phones to take pictures.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun say yeah?
Eyewitnesses say the leprechaun only comes out at night. If you shine a light in its direction, it suddenly disappears. This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like. Others find it hard to believe and have come up with their own theories and explanations for the image.
My theory is it's casting a shadow from the other limb.
Could be a crackhead that got hold to the wrong stuff.
Wrong
and
stuff.
he told him to get up in a tree and play a leprechaun.
that video helped get us through our pledge process back in 2008. We still quote that video as my frat brothers of like that video specifically helped us make it through the process. But because it's so ridiculous, right? And then like this was my father's Irish flute, leprechaun flute. But anyway, yes, Elon is a crackheaded leprechaun at this point. I don't know what type of myth characters they have in South Africa, apartheid, what they had back then. Probably something from Europe, some sort of like the blacks. Oh, here he is at the inauguration. Oh, dude is, I mean, and folks, I remind you, this is the master race. Look at this.
I mean,
look at that.
It's uncomfortable.
Glorious. It's like a swan landing on soft waters. It is like a horse running through the tundra. Wow.
Remember when they found some cocaine in the Joe Biden White House and how big of a...
That's right. They did. They're actually reopening that investigation. They're reopening it.
But you got this guy in the White House who was an official. What they say, he's not an official employee, he's an advisor, but he was running.
He's a special.
He's whatever we need to call him so that he's not liable. But
leave him alone. he's leave him alone. That's what he is. He's good, but leave him alone.
Yeah,
leave elongated muskrat alone.
And Trump says he wasn't aware. This is from yesterday that Musk was reportedly using drugs in the 2024 campaign.
He's the smartest person.
I guess he's not aware that his son Junior is not a cocaine user. I guess So and these are people. They're just out in the open, like
they out here.
So, but yeah, there's also a little bit of I think a lot of people expected that Trump and Elon Musk would eventually fall out, butt heads, and They try very hard to not to, I think, but I don't think it'll last. And you
No,
know, now,
I mean he's already ran roughshod. He's already got what he wanted.
yeah. So for Musk has got the data he wanted. He's been able to train his AI, actually test his AI. There's speculation that there's a connection to Peter Thiel, Palantir. So Palantir has
Volunteer.
always had government contracts. Now there was a story that came out yesterday or today that Palantir will extend. Basically, Trump taps Palantir to
Create a
compile,
profile
create exactly. So you know what I was saying.
for every American. I mean, it's like but this is what you get. This is what you get in a state that needs control and oppression. Like they can't let people be. And the countries that have the highest happiness ratio, they don't have all of this authoritarianism. But since they can't shape the culture to be, because you can't have freedom, but then also have like this very, rigid uh way of living in society. So they're trying to have it all, right? But it doesn't work out that way. So they have to throw more police, more surveillance, more tracking, because like, damn it, if y'all will not do what we want y'all to do, we gonna try to make y'all do what we want y'all to do,
Yeah,
and it's not gonna work out.
This is for
People are gonna
Elon.
revolt.
This is for Thiel. Mostly Elon. He's hacked the entire government, and you know what I'm saying. Like, so Palantir is AI, machine learning, and it will be used in the most nefarious ways. So if you think, going back to COINTELPRO, what I've been telling people is like they probably have a profile on you already. I mean, they're
Yeah,
tapped
of
into
course,
social media.
no
Cambridge
question.
Cambridge Analytica was 12 years ago, and that was through mining Facebook, one social media site, right? And they were able to actually basically change the minds of thousands, if not millions. And so what we have here with Palantir is, imagine COINTELPRO on crack, where it literally is every American. It's a profile on every American. They can make predictions on how somebody will act, predictions on their political affiliations, and all of these things. And then they're going to start talking
It's
about
almost like
soon. They're going to talk about preemptive arrest. They're
I
going to
was
start.
about to say, it sounds like Minority Report in future crimes.
Yeah, so preemptive, expect preemptive arrests,
Have you seen
preemptive
that movie?
warrants. Yeah, I've seen it. I've loved it, but I don't even remember it at this point.
No, I mean, I know. Again, it's just Tom Cruise and
Yeah.
his part of the government. They had these three people, and they would arrest people for future crimes they would commit. Now, it's clearly unethical,
Mm-hmm.
because how can I arrest you for something you haven't done yet?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole premise of the movie was that he was fingered for a crime, but it's like he didn't commit it yet. So you have to break that cycle to prove it. But the point is, this is all like, it's just all control metrics, right? And people are going to push back on this. I mean, again, the empire is crumbling.
Yeah.
And I think we have to sit with that as people. And
Yeah.
people, again, they're ready to go out there with their signs and the hands off, no King's Day. Like, you got to be okay with this thing ending. It doesn't mean that we're gonna die. It means that we got to imagine something bigger, something better.
Exactly. I'll tell you, my mental health. I'm not clinically depressed person, but my mental health has been far better these past couple of months after I've like you just said, sat with the fact that like the empire's ending. Like, you know what? It might not be how I envisioned it.
Right.
But the sooner that we can admit that these things are inevitable,
Right. Or that they're happening,
right?
that they're just happening.
That they're
Right.
and that the worst may come to worst, but at the end of the day, if somebody has to rebuild
That's
from
right.
the rubble. What do we want that to look like, right? Those type of things, and so that's where my energy is spent. I'm not fretting.
That's right. That's right.
But I'm spent like, all right, well, how am I going to protect my people? How am I going to protect the community? How am I going to rebuild this shit when shit hits the fan? Give people the
Right.
tools, and I think that's what, because this, and I see, and listening to you a lot too, right? Of like, where's the affirmative? Like, where is the positive? Because we keep talking like we're still calling it no kings. We were calling it hands off. We were talking about, but like, what are we standing for? And I don't think like it doesn't resonate beyond like us politicos. Like, when I say us, I mean a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
who pay
understand.
attention, right? Of like the end of democracy and da 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 da. But to a lot of Americans, like
It's
it
their
doesn't mean
democracy.
it
That's the
doesn't.
thing. This whole thing is theirs. And when I say theirs, what I mean by that is those that believe in the concept of whiteness. And it will parent make everything about whiteness. But what again, this was a country built on these indigenous people are not human beings, so you can steal their land. It was
Right.
built on these Africans are not human beings, so you can enslave them. It was built on they aren't real people and they're shiftless and they're duplicitous, and that's why you can they're unrapeable. That's why you can have the plantation breed houses. Like that is built on all that.
Well,
So
it's
if
it's
if if you didn't address that, then you're not going to have the laws that come after that uphold that system, even if it's not as violent.
yeah, and it's the idea that fascism. This is the first time fascism has come to America, right?
Wrong.
But but that's not the case. So it's like well, especially I think it's for a lot of white folks, it feels extra uncomfortable this time because it's coming to their
Oh
their
yeah,
doorstep.
that's right. And
And
it's hard to look away. I mean, they could try to, but this is why I don't take it serious when people they just want to be happy.
mhm.
They just want to be happy. Like
And that's the scary part too, because they can actually
yes,
find a
you're
way
right.
to just be happy and just be like,
Yes.
well, I'm okay.
And guess who sells that shit? The right. The right sells just be comfortable. The right sells just leave it up to us. We'll handle it. You can still live in your nice big old house. You can still live in your extremely segregated neighborhood. You can still drive your Tesla. You can still drive your Rivian or whatever the hell the other car is called. You can still live this extremely privileged lifestyle. But to keep that quote again, what you perceive to be happiness as a stay-at-home mom or this, you retired at 45 years old or whatever the case may be, with people who have had generational wealth, to maintain that happiness, which is really just comfort,
Yeah.
give it to us. This is why, like, when I see these folks, even the liberal people,
Yeah,
who are like, "Oh, we just want to be, we just Paramount, you made people angry." And it's like anger is an emotion that Martin Luther King himself said must be honed for the betterment of all people.
yeah,
Right? So like this idea of like you being angry is a bad thing. No, be angry, but utilize it.
yeah.
Invest in something, build something with that anger, right? Don't have to be useless anger where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot a cop,
Hmm.
right? While I flee a murder scene,
Yeah.
right? Like use the anger to build a better community. But these are people who are not of community.
Yeah.
This is also why they're lost.
Yeah. And I think honestly, it shouldn't be up to necessarily you even, right, of just, but we have to keep chipping away. And like when Jolly Good Ginger, for example, puts up this post like, look, this is what it is, like,
But what was the
look, I
first
get
comment
it.
on it?
I get it.
What was the first comment? It
Yeah,
said,
it's just
"What predicament are we in?" See, this that shit there. It's the performative ignorance. It's the I don't even know what you're talking about, bro.
But to the point of like, and I would say you said the right, but I also say the Schumers, the
Of
Slotkins, right?
course,
Those people are
of
saying,
course.
"Oh, it's not so bad." Even Woodson Bradley was telling her constituents, like, "Why are you running around like angry old women, right?
That's
Because
right. That's
everything's
right.
going to be fine. We'll vote our way out of it in 2026." Like, okay, first off, what we've seen in the last 150 days, the violence, the disregard for human lives. I saw a report where they said the USAID, because
That's right.
Elon Musk cut that, killed about 300,000 people, right?
300,000.
And there's
That's right.
women giving
But those
birth
are
to children
brown
with AIDS.
people who are
You
faceless,
don't
who are
have to
probably
see.
Muslim,
Yeah, so
who
you're
are
going to be
not
comfortable.
us.
You're going to be comfortable
Right.
in Valentine. You're going to be
Right.
comfortable, and so they have that option. So I just needed
That's
to
right.
like translate into something that's actually
But this
transformative,
is
goes
why
committed,
this is
protects
why
people, the vulnerable, the marginalized.
right.
Because at the end of the day, like all they had to do is kind of fit right back in.
Right. But this is why those who and this is why like I can't take liberal white people serious, especially privileged liberal white people. Now, those white people who are like in the gutter, like who I'm out there on the streets to protest, and these are like the white folks. They
Yeah,
know they're
that's the thing. Most of our listeners are the ones, but they also have some ignorances too. But they're like,
yeah.
listen,
Well,
but
we all do. But
if
like
it
you have to
doesn't, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Because
right. But the thing is, that they want to say all the bad stuff is only in the Republican
right,
Party.
it's
The only racist white people are the Klan,
Mhm.
and as I always say, it's in all of us. It's in me. It's in Rom.
Mhm.
And until you can acknowledge that, then you can start to do the work of learning to unlearn.
Yeah.
And once you unlearn, then you realize, like, yeah, you know what? I too was, again, this is why I don't take the argument about these Republicans that the Democratic Party is trying to go after these disaffected Republicans, or the ones that did vote for Trump, but they didn't want any of this stuff. They didn't want to lose their job, but they were clapping when he said that he'll let police officers kill me and you with impunity. They were clapping when he said mass deportations now. But then, these liberal Democrats will tell us, they'll say, but they were lied to. I was lied to. You were lied to. I was lied to, saying that my history starts in chains. You were lied to that, indigenous people were savages and they had to be civilized through the Christian doctrine and all this other shit. We've all been lied to. We've been lied to that men are this and women are that. We've been lied to that queer people are this and straight people are that. Like, we've all been lied to. That's not an excuse to vote for a fascist. But the media, that is also led by white billionaires, will allow us to kind of have this kind of like, well, both sides. And I guess, yeah, I mean, we should again, what did I say earlier? We do this infantilization of white supremacy. So we try to infantilize Republican voters, grown look at those people in that room with Robert Burns, grown ass white people, grown old rusty white people. They've all been misled. They've all been misled. No, that it's a project. They're keeping their project going. And what the liberal white people don't want to admit is that Robert Burns, Mike Johnson, Donald Trump are actually closer to what the founders represented than they like to admit.
Yeah. and that's the thing. And a lot of it was a facade, right? And the mask is off, the hood is off, and
embrace it.
Yep. So
I'm not saying like it, folks, but just embrace it. Hey, as Ron said earlier, what's happening is happening right now. And the more you're like, this is not happening, and if we just vote Trump out and vote Burns out, it's like, no, there is a sickness that is corroding. And Jolly Good Ginger put it shit so succinctly. Until we can say the one thing that is the problem is white supremacy, or as Neely Fuller, who died back in February, said, if you do not understand white supremacy and how it works, everything that you think that you know will only confuse you. And it's that same shit that, it echoes throughout history. I mean, the ancestors don't miss, brother. The ancestors don't miss, man. That's the thing. Like, they're going to tell you what it was 100 years ago, and it's going to still apply 100 years later.
Yep. So,
one last story, right?
Yeah, we got one last story.
What we got?
It was, and also I just wanted to make a quick mention that Musk and Trump are kind of on their way to now. Elon Musk says he doesn't want to take responsibility for Trump administration's actions, so whatever they're doing. So they're about to start pointing fingers, and then guess who's accountable? Guess who's accountable? Nobody. No one's going to be accountable, and they probably will be on the outs with each other. I don't know how it's going to play out, but when you have,
you've seen Trump. He was attacking Leonard Leo, and if y'all know who Leonard Leo is, folks, look him up. But he was the guy from the not Heritage Foundation, but the Federal Society that basically got him all his Trump judges, and he said, I was promised by Leonard Leo that none of these judges, if I picked them, would ever rule against me. So, and this is a long time Republican lobbyist for the judicial system. So, this is the thing about, when you have a go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No. Yeah, okay. This is more important.
So we forgot that he went into the Oval Office with a black eye. And the rumor, when you want to talk about the rumor, so Scott Bessent is the Treasury Secretary, Trump's Treasury Secretary.
And basically it sounds like, again, none of us were in the room, but it sounds like they got into a little bit of a skiff. They got into some fisticuffs based around that. Scott Bessent was like, look, bro, you said you're going to save us or cut or whatever, doge us into $1.2 trillion. Originally it was $2 trillion. Then a weekend it was like, we're going to do $1 trillion. Then it became half a trillion. Then it became a couple.
Well, they're still saying $1 trillion, but the number is right. 180 billion, and then now it might even be as low as 10 billion when they're actually calculated, because what no one actually calculated was like the benefits, right? So like all these programs they were cutting that actually have benefits, actually bring in income and revenue. They've
like the
cut
park
those too,
services.
so there's no
The
longer.
park services, for every dollar that they take in, they generate $7.
So you bring in, eight IT nerds and no accountants. Like
That's what you get.
that's like like if I went into a company and said, "Hey, I will solve this problem," and da da da, that would be audacious of me to say that I would know what the hell. I can cut items. Yeah, I can cut a line item. But for me to say like I've discovered everything, that all of these benefits and all of this revenue,
They don't.
in a week or whatever day, like they were doing this in days. You remember how it was, right?
And this is
People
what Scott
remember.
Bessent what was calling Elon out on. He said, "Hey, all these trillions, and we're down to
Now you're
sounds
talking
like
about,
and now it sounds like we're down to like maybe at max 100 some billion, maybe not even billions."
yeah.
And they got to it sounded like some pushy, and it looks like someone hauled off and hit him. Now, when he was asked in the White House about asking the Oval Office
Well, I
about
want to
this,
say one more thing, but Scott Bessent was also the same motherfucker that let him force their way into all of this data in the first place. So so these people now, they're wiping their hands clean. They're already pointing the fingers, and they're fist fighting it out, right? So, but he blamed it on his son. So this man is here.
5-year-old son.
And I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did.
Who stole the show during Musk's previous appearance in the Oval. Today, it was the fully fledged bromance between Musk and Trump on full display.
Elon's service to America has been without comparison in modern history.
The pair took a victory lap over DOGE's predicted savings to the federal budget.
In terms of an FY25 to FY26 delta, are over 160 billion, and that's climbing. We expect that number will probably go over 200 billion soon.
But Musk initially predicted DOGE could cut $2 trillion. He also claimed the department found a shattering amount of fraud and abuse. While the White House says it has referred over 50 DOGE-related instances of alleged fraud to the department.
That's funny.
So, one, he blamed his son, X, who's, he's 6?
Whatever. Yeah.
You think his son gave him a shiner?
No, I think Scott Bessent got in that ass. I think he said, "You're gonna see these Scott Bessent hands. You're gonna get these one bop 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 boom bop beam bop boom bop bam."
Now, if his
They
son
got that.
did give him a black eye, then then let's see. He should probably get him enrolled in some jujitsu, some UFC, something. But he scapegoated his own son. He said, "So
But there's people in the problem is there's people in the room, and then people were like, "Yeah, Scott." They said Elon pushed this. I mean, it's in the transcript. They said,
well, this is what's Scott Steve Bannon, who hates Elon Musk, right?
Right. Yeah, but he said that he pushed this 62-year-old man, Scott Bessent, and again, Scott Bessent was like, "Look, I ain't no bitch," and swung on that ass. So, like, I mean, at this point, they're all liars, they're all grifters, they're all con artists. But as happy Pride, everybody, as the queers say, the girls are fighting, and let them fight.
Yeah.
Or from Godzilla versus King Kong, let them fight.
So last but not least, you wanted to talk about Kilmar.
Kilmar,
and really just
Obrego Garcia.
And really just the fact that we really just haven't really seen his name out there.
Nope.
And I think that is, I think the problem that we have is like the stamina to not we as in you and me, but
I know what you mean. As the American public.
To keep these things in the headlines, and I think we talk about it with Democrats and all the time, of like they can't maintain the headlines, can't be cohesive with it. No one's really saying it and talking about it anymore, and I think this is still an issue. That an issue, a winnable issue, right? Because again, this is a man who they started off with administrative errors. Got him. He went over there, and then they realized they made a mistake. They even admitted in court they made a mistake, and they started to demonize him. They turned him into a wife beater. They created
he's a drug trafficker. He's a human trafficker.
MS-13 to the point where
MS-13.
They put MS-13 on his fingers, and doctored it. Apparently, not even tried to attribute it, but like doctored it for Trump to believe.
Right.
Now, most people didn't actually believe it, but now
everybody's saying, everybody saw it. Many people
But now they're pulling out, you know, even though the Supreme Court said that you needed to facilitate his return, they haven't done so. They basically should be held in contempt. But they pretty much at this point, like if you're not even taking on the issue from a judicial standpoint, you know, a contempt or following, you know, judicial ruling, then that's it. That's the game, folks. Like they can pretty much go ahead and decide that they don't want to follow, and that's what they've done. That's what they will continue to do, whether it's a federal court, whether it's the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter anymore. And they will be selective. They'll probably pick their battles, but they won't. And who's gonna stop them? No one.
I'm looking for this video right now on my phone. But it was around the birth. Yeah, here it is. I think I found it. And it was around the birthday of Malcolm X and Yuri Kuchiyama. And it was a video of her talking about why it's important. Let me see. I think this might be it. Yep, this is it. Why it's important for us to focus on political prisoners. I'm playing. It's not that long. I'm playing a little bit here. Can you hear this?
I can hear it. Yes, it's
report. I feel that political prisoners are the reminders of what the struggle is about in America, and they are really the heartbeat of struggle. And yet it is so sad to think that so many people do not even know about these people.
You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the folks who couldn't hear it, that was Yuri Kojiyama, who was, again, one of Malcolm X's good friends during their life of fighting for civil rights and fighting for freedom. But she talked, and this was a video from maybe the 80s, and it was her saying that this is why she said this is why it's important for us to talk about political prisoners, because they're at the heart of whatever issue you think you're talking about. It is them. She's like, it's a shame that a lot of us do not even know the names of political prisoners, because again, that is where politics and real life truly intersect. Of people who are trying to fight, people who are political prisoners. And Kilmar or Brego Garcia is a political prisoner. Mahmoud Khalil is a political prisoner. You know, Asada Shakur, even though she's in exile, is a political prisoner, right? So we have to your point, we have to remember their names, because if not, then we're saying that the status quo that allows that system to get those political prisoners can continue, because they're not worth our ire and our anger. And in reality, it's like, well, at this point, we all can become political prisoners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, and if you can forget Kilmar, people can forget Payron.
Exactly. And real quick, I'm going to play one clip, because that reminds me of, you know, what's happened today, or overnight with was it Representative Jerry Nadler. I don't know if you heard about this, but one of his,
they raided his office.
Raided his office, which, you know, shares an office with, I guess, the Department of Homeland Security. But they felt like they could just go in and arrest this person. And you know, that's somebody who's in Congress, and they're going in there saying that they're harboring rioters, whatever that means. And there, you know, there was none, and even if there was, and they decided to arrest an aide, and I'm just gonna play a quick clip.
Are called heavy-handed tactics. The staffer was not arrested. DHS says law enforcement believed protesters were inside the office. A DHS spokesperson.
There was another clip with her, you know, crying out. Because
that's right.
She's, you know, she could tell she's someone who's younger, and let's see if this one's got the sound on these. Got that.
That is not what happened.
That is not what happened. Okay?
What?
Hold on a second.
You have your contact information, right?
No, I'm going to give you some speak to you.
Hey.
That's what I'm going to do.
We got you.
No.
I got you.
You're
You're okay.
I don't have to go.
You're okay. You're okay. You're going to be okay.
I'm a federal officer. We're here checking on something.
We're here checking on something.
I'm giving you.
We're here checking on something.
Stop resisting.
Stop resisting.
Stop resisting.
Yep, they always got to throw that in to give them cover.
That's right.
For what?
as if you shouldn't resist the natural urge of someone harming you. Like, it's so insane.
And
Well, I just want to remind people before you get into what you're about to say is that all cops are class traitors. Don't forget that, folks. All cops are class traitors. I don't want any of them dead. Don't get me wrong, but all cops are class traitors.
yeah,
They work. They do not work to protect us. They do not work to protect our livelihoods. And I think the case was Winnebago, 1986, Winnebago v. United States, where they said that all they have to do is basically they don't have it is not in their purview to protect the American people. So protect and serve is a bumper sticker. It is a slogan. It is propaganda. That is not, they are here to protect capital and to protect power and to protect wealth and property. That is it. So in this country, that is also whiteness too. So,
and that's what we're about to well, that's what a lot of folks are about to learn. Right. I was thinking about as I was watching this when I was driving today or listening, and there's no one going to stop these federal folks. You think the DC police, or do you think the Monroe police, or even the Chicago police are going to stop illicit activity, even if they are violating whether it's state laws, city laws, which these federal agents are in many cases? No one is going to stop them. They're not at the whim of the mayor, at the whim of Democratic mayors or Democratic governors. The National Guard is not going to step in. And that's
some of
the
and the problem is some of these Democrats agree. And as I said, I think a few episodes ago, we have at this point we have a fascist party and we have a conservative party or a regressive party. And that's where we're at right now. Those are our two options. You have a outright, overtly fascist party, and then you have a spineless, unprincipled, regressive party that has all the trappings and decorations of a progressive movement, right? With representation, but really their interests still lie with the moneyed class. They still lie with the
target
the
of
wealth
political
class.
parties, whatever the
Right.
target of political parties, right?
They do not
Maintain that
stand for
power.
they do not stand for the individual rights and freedom of expression that they're supposed to, right? You'll get a trans person yeah, in Congress. I forget the congresswoman's name. Was it McBride, I think, or something like that? But in reality, trans people are under assault in this country, right? There's still 300 plus, 400 plus bills across the country targeting trans people. So it just proves that, like, just because we have this performative, oh, we got Juneteenth coming up, but yet, while Trump is making it easier for books to get banned and making it easier for us to get arrested by ICE or whatever, even as citizens, in attacking the 14th Amendment, like again, he's pardoning these people, but yet making it easier to arrest black people.
You can endure it for another 17 months till November 2026, right? You can.
I might not
Everyone
be able
can
to make
endure
it.
Everyone's going to endure
17 months. Good
Yeah,
God.
just deal with it. Let's maintain order. We're going to vote these people out.
They live in a la la land, man, and it's so irritating. I mean, Schumer, but also again, same way I blame the voters of MAGA, I blame the Democratic voters too. Like it's just they also live in this world of fancy and whimsy that, like, it's all, again, as long as we get Trump out, it's all good. It's like, no, man, this system, no matter what happens, we're gonna get another Trump. And it's always, you're going to have one party that's going to put a gun to your head, and then the other party saying, vote for us if you don't want that gun pointed directly at your head. We'll have the gun maybe point at your throat or your chest, maybe pull the gun back about 100 feet away, but it still can hit you. That is what liberalism gets you, because liberalism realizes that it is unwilling to fight the fascist. So instead, they look and punch down on their own people. And that's what always happens in history.
And they're holding auditions for the next Trump, right? And that's what a lot of these people are auditioning for. Mayor Robert Burns auditioning to be the next Trump. These people, they, if Trump died today, JD Vance would pop in. And like you said, he doesn't have the charisma to that they need somebody to fill
he ain't got
that
the
gap.
sauce.
So
he ain't got the
They
sauce.
need a mascot. Anyways,
Kilmar and political prisoners back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to remind people that, look, if we can't hold the stamina to continue to talk about and keep these things at the forefront, if we can't march for these people, if we can't say their name, if we can't have signs up, like all this like no king stuff, like keep off of my social security, keep out like that. I mean, okay. I mean that what do you that's not going to stop by a protest. What we do need to do, and everyone knows that's happening, what we do need to do is highlight these people, their names, these, like you said, political prisoners, and he's just one. But like if we can't stand behind that, if we can't call out specific things and as you said have specific demands, like where are we going with this?
Nowhere.
Like,
nowhere
Democrats
fast.
don't have a platform. I haven't heard anything. These groups, these marches, we just not standing for anything. So
and it's not organized. It's not. I mean, it's an organized event, but it's not organized in what their demands.
But I will
it's not
say,
organized in what they need.
Yeah, but I will say he's having his little birthday party, whatever, his birthday extravaganza, and f that. So by all means, get out there, march. Because it does get under his skin and it does bring some awareness.
We'll probably talk about this on Thursday, but and we'll put a pin in this. But he got a new nickname this week.
Who? Trump? Oh, Taco.
Taco.
Ooh,
Chicken taco.
Like
he does not like that.
He didn't know what it meant at first, and he got mad.
Did you have the clip? Let's maybe cover it.
He got asked.
So yeah, so he just real quick. So he was doing a press conference, and a reporter asked him a question. They said, "Hey, I don't know if you have the clip, but I'll give you a quick kind of 1,000."
This is the pink salt recipe.
Where they basically said, the Wall Street has a nickname for you because they basically how they plan around their investing strategy, like basically buy the dip, which is Taco. And he was like, they say, I kick out. And they say, it's Trump always chickens out. And he says,
I know about that dip. Yo, every time this man says something like, yo, okay, new tariff, it's time to buy a new dip. Because it's true, like, and then it's like, it might.
That's what it means.
But you know what? All this stuff that's happening. I just want to remind people, all this stuff that's happening, these ups and downs. You're looking at the micro. It doesn't matter. So that's what I was saying when Tesla was going down. I was trying to tell people, look, it's not going below the levels that you think it is.
Right.
But people do need to keep in mind the macro, the long term of these things that are happening, and we haven't even scratched the surface of like what's the effects to come. But anyways, regardless, they've called him Taco, and I'm gonna roll that clip.
Yeah, please do.
Let me start that over.
Called the taco. Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia.
Hot.
The king told me.
Sexy.
He said, you got the hottest we have the hottest country in the world right now.
Hottest.
6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead.
It was
We
ugly.
had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that.
They're getting what they want out
It's
of
called
you, dude.
negotiation. You set a number. And if you
Set
go
a number.
down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high
Because you can buy
number
you.
and I go
They know
down
they can buy you.
a little bit, a little bit. They want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I
They
said,
do.
man, that
Who's
really
they?
got up. You
Who's
know how
they?
it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever.
You
They were having
tweeted
a lot
it.
of problems.
You
We were
tweeted it.
very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the
orange
tariff, because it
clown.
was so high.
It just starts blabbering. I mean, come on. Anyways,
It's orange clown. Taco. I like
You
that,
got the
and
dancing
you could tell he is seething. You could tell that is under his skin. Because he is all about trying to get in the good graces of the real money. That's always been his thing since the '80s. He's always wanted to be seen as. Remember the 9/11 video when he was like, oh, well, I used to have the highest tower, but then now today on 9/11 2001, I have the highest tower again. He's always about like, am I in the good graces? Right, exactly. So
and he might retaliate. You call him chicken too much, he might blow up a country over this. To be honest, but I'm gonna leave it with this, and then we're gonna sign off. So,
all right,
everyone, please like, share. We're supposed to say this in the beginning, but if you're still
I know we're still working on it, y'all.
Like, share. We gotta put a notepad. We gotta let our producer know that we recorded early today. But
yes, please. See, we're all over the place.
Like, share, subscribe, follow. Send it to your friends, circulate it. Help us get it popping. Help us spread the word of this, but also what we're trying to build in terms of a movement, whatever it may be. So we thank y'all for listening and rocking with us. But I'm gonna leave y'all with this clip.
Trump.
Oh shoot.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, folks. I'm Donald Trump.
It's Donald Trump's long-lost Saturday Night Live sketch from 11 years ago.
Trump, you know our wings will make you happy. Trumpy!
Trump dances with SNL cast members dressed as chickens in this commercial for Donald Trump's House of Wings.
Come on, get the dancers back.
For some reason, the sketch has been deleted from the official DVD, giving rise to all sorts of conspiracy theories. Somebody doesn't want you to see this sketch.
The sketch, by the way, has actually been removed. I don't know what.
Yeah, that was popular 5 years ago. I don't even know. 9 years ago this came out. So anyways, it's relevant today. Enjoy,
folks.
This is our president.
Have a great rest of your weekend. We're gonna keep that right as y'all president. I'm your co-host Peyron Baxter,
and I'm your co-host Ram Sandoval.
And
thank you for tuning in. Progress through action.
Next go around.
Yes. Take care.
Peace.